We are on record for what has been docketed for our third regular review and a permanency planning hearing. And the names of our participants, please.
Lee Heiss, lawyer guardian ad litem.
Cassandra Thomas, counsel for the department.
Karen Sminsky, foster care worker for Illinois DHS.
Michael McFarland, representing father.
Father Wesley Piper.
Mother Maker.
Sorry. Alexis Stang, appearing on behalf of attorney Ariel Walker.
All right, welcome. Ms. Stang, could you confirm we've made a little time for you to talk with Ms. Gerber ahead of time?
Yes, that is accurate, and we are ready to proceed.
Thank you. We also had just a brief bench conference. I don't think we covered much outside of what would already be covered during today's review hearing, but any comments on that, counselors?
No, I think we were able to share information that came to nothing in the end anyway, so I don't think anything needs to be reported on the record for me.
I don't have anything to add, Your Honor.
I think Ms. Stang just wanted a moment to confer with her client in private, so that's all I have to add.
All right, Ms. Heiss.
Thank you, Your Honor. You know, the really good, stable news is that the agency and the placement have provided everything that this child needs. I think he's blissfully unaware of the situation in his life. I think he thinks his parents add like frosting on the cake, and he has nice visits with his parents who bring what they need to visits. And however, when we take a step back and look at the progress of parents, the court report was talking about increasing visits to the extent that like not increasing the time, but increasing to unsupervised. And I just don't think we do experiments with children. I don't know how mom and dad would find a driver to pick the child up, take the child to visits, and return the child. And I don't think it would be appropriate in this case to have foster parents doing the transportation. There are times when we can ask foster parents to do that, but I think that would be inappropriate. The purpose of increasing to unsupervised visits would be to challenge the parents to find an appropriate transporter and to be there on time without all the extra supports. And I do think it's time to know whether these parents can do more of the load. Their housing is unstable, inappropriate. The psychological evaluations are still, that professional is still recommending structured and supervised visits, so that in the end, I don't recommend unsupervised visits. I know it would be a nice way to see the parents progress, but when I look at this little boy in his foster home, I don't know why we would build this bond at this time without more progress from the parents. This was going to be a very short case, a very quick turnaround. You know that we've dealt with these parents for many years, 5 or 6 years, and for them to progress this slowly in services, you know, mom knows sobriety when she sees it, and she's not doing it, and she is, her drug tests are showing us that she's taking her prescription, but that's part of the part of the battle. That's not all of the battle. So I would ask you to consider not increasing the bond until we increase some of the other factors that reduce risk of harm to the child. And I have visited with him face to face in his foster care home in the last 10 days. Thank you.
Ms. Thomas.
I'll ask Ms. Gerber to be sworn in, please.
Come on up here and stand.
Morning, Ms. Gerber. Did you have an opportunity to read the court report for today's hearing?
Yes.
Was there
Could you
anything?
speak up just a bit for me?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
And was there anything in there that you thought was inaccurate?
No.
Okay. So I'm just gonna walk through it with you real quick, okay? So there's the violation of civil or criminal ordinances laws. It looks like there's a bench warrant pending from 2020 that you informed Ms. Skabinski about. Is that accurate?
Yes, I have to pay that ticket and it'll be gone.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, I went online and looked up your name. Are you aware of any other outstanding warrants?
Not at the moment.
Okay. When is the last time that you had law involvement?
It's been a while. I mean, I've had tickets in the past, but I've never really been in trouble, like had a charge.
Okay.
For a couple of years.
Okay. Was the last time you were pulled over in 2023?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any tickets or any warrants related to that at all that you're aware of?
I know I had a ticket and I do have to pay that too.
Okay. Okay. And then the report still indicates the issue, and I know we talked about this last review hearing, the $600 from 7-Eleven.
I'm still trying to take care of that.
Okay.
I've just had a lot of financial burdens happen the past couple of weeks.
Okay.
And I'm really not trying to like prolong it.
Okay.
I want to off my back.
Let's see. There's some concern about the communication style between you and Mr. Piper. Is that something you guys are working on in treatment or anything like that?
Yeah, we're going to Parkside, but we're supposed to have our first session last Thursday, but Debbie's daughter was in the hospital. So now this Thursday at 2:00 is our first session together.
Okay. And just for the record, can you let us know what services you're getting from Parkside?
So far, I'm getting trauma therapy from Vicky. I'm getting recovery therapy, like recovery coaching from Debbie, and then I'm just getting regular therapy through Chris.
And Debbie is going to assist with couples therapy,
Yes,
but she's your recovery coach?
yes. She's licensed in both areas.
Okay. So she's doing your substance abuse treatment?
Yes. And then I also attend women's groups with Debbie on Fridays at 12:00.
And when did you start going to Parkside?
Just a couple weeks ago. I think 2 weeks before Halloween.
Okay, so like mid-October-ish?
Yeah.
Okay.
I wanted to go to Dimensions of Wellness like Wesley, but to be honest, it just seemed like it was a lot of work, like a lot of burden. And they only had one counselor that specialized in substance abuse. Well, this place has more than one counselor that specializes. So just in case Debbie's not available, there's other therapists that are.
Okay. How do you feel parenting time is going?
I think it's going really well. I do agree with Ms. Keys that I do feel that there needs to be a little bit more supervised visitation before unsupervised can be looked at. Just on my area aspect.
Can you explain that a little more to us?
Just because I've had a really long lengthy history with CPS and a lot of like deceitfulness in my past, where I do think that I have a lot of proving to do before we can really explore that option.
Okay. You completed the supportive visitation program, which had an element of parent education, correct? Okay. Do you feel that you still need any more parent education?
I don't feel that it wouldn't hurt. I do feel that there are areas that I am lacking in.
Okay. So you would like more parent ed?
Yeah,
Okay.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I also seen that there was a recommendation in the court report for a psychologist. And it's a good thing that I'm talking with Parkside because they gave me 2 references to 2 places that I could start looking into.
And I'm sorry, can you speak up just a little louder? Did you say based on the psychological, there were recommendations?
Yeah, I did notice that there were like recommendations for like a psychologist. So I wouldn't be opposed to looking into that. And Parkside gave me 2 references that are in town that I could start looking into.
Are you receiving any medication support or mental health support from CMH?
No.
Okay. Can you give us an update on housing?
The housing is we're still where we're at, but I'm working with Debbie because she does work with housing help, and I do have a couple more forms that I need to give her, but once I give her those, then we can give it to housing help and actually start that.
Speaking of your psychological, is that something you were able to review with Karen or anyone else?
No, just myself.
Do you know if your therapists have a copy?
I believe she does.
And when you say she, I know that you have a few service providers. Who would you be referring to?
Vicky.
Okay. One of the scales indicates a heightened, I mean, there's several heightened scales here, but one was indicative of an individual with low frustration and tendencies towards increasing levels of coercive behaviors. Do you feel like that is something that you experience in yourself?
Yes.
And is this something that you and Vicky are addressing in therapy?
Yes.
Okay. It looks like you're attending all parenting times, which is great. And are you having any troubles bringing any of the required materials that he needs?
No, there are times that I forget, like I'll forget to bring diapers that are at home, but there have been times that I've been forgetful.
Is there anything that you would like the court to know or anything else you want to address from the court report?
And I'm really trying to change this time. And I don't mean to drag my feet. It's just scary.
Okay. There's one other thing I just wanted to touch base on. Are you receiving Suboxone treatments?
Yeah.
And who is that from?
Work it up. Sorry.
It's okay if you need a moment.
Work at Health.
Work at Health? Okay. Is there, to the best of your knowledge, is there any communication going on between Debbie, substance abuse provider, and the Work at Health treatment team?
I'm not sure. I did sign a release of information, show that she's able to contact them. I just don't know the communication between them at this moment.
Okay. All right, thank you. I have no further questions of your of this witness, Your Honor.
Cross-examination or any questions for your client, Ms. Sting?
Yes, thank you. Ms. Gerber, do you intend to take care of that bench warrant and ticket from 2020?
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
How much time do you think it will take you to pay that ticket and resolve the bench warrant?
I honestly just need a couple of days. I just had a lot of financial burdens just come up on me. Instead of taking care of the ticket, I took care of all those instead.
Okay. And in the court report, it indicated that there was a doctor appointment for Kyler on September 16th of this year that you did not attend. Do you recall that appointment?
Yes, and I believe the day of that appointment, actually, me and Wesley were not told of that appointment until a half hour before it was happening. I do remember telling Sierra about it, but I do recall that they forgot to let us know when it was. And we were in Saline at the time, so to drive all the way there and make it wouldn't have happened. I would have made it by the time they would have been walking out. The doctor there is normally pretty efficient. She's pretty fast and timely.
Okay. And you are still experiencing issues as far as stable transportation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do you believe that paying that ticket from 2020 to get your bench warrant taken care of will help resolve some of those transportation issues?
Yes, because when Wesley came up to the courthouse to help me pay on the ticket, they told us that that ticket was holding me back. If I paid that ticket, I would be able to get my permit back.
Okay.
Or at least, the process of it.
Okay. And then once you are able to get your license, do you have a vehicle that you will be able to rely on for transportation?
Yes, but I need to get it insured and plated and all of that. But for the moment, I do have transportation for Kyler. For the meantime, if unsupervised visitation was to be looked upon. I've already looked into people and they have already talked to me and they are willing to drive. They also have talked to Sierra. So we both know the drivers if that was to happen.
Okay. Did you communicate that information to the caseworker regarding the people or person that you would be able to have help you with transportation?
I did tell her about one person, but we were going to explore that more after the court hearing when we had our family team meeting. Normally after court hearings, we have a family team meeting with Karen. She's normally pretty good about giving us that.
Okay. Has the department offered you gas cards at any point to assist with transportation?
They normally offer us them, but we don't ask for them.
Okay. When they offer them, do you guys take them?
If they're only to far distant appointments.
Okay. And then, is it accurate to state that housing is something that you are still working on?
Yes, I'm definitely trying to get out of that house.
Okay. So you do have a house that you currently live in right now, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you feel that it's stable housing?
I mean, it's stable for one person, but not for a family. No, it's not.
Okay. So you don't think it's appropriate or suitable then for your child?
No.
Okay. And then as far as income and employment, do you currently have employment?
I mean, yeah, I'm working with Wesley, but honestly, my intentions are going to Classic Omni on Wednesday from 10 to 2. They're having open interviews for second shift. That's 3 p.m. to 11, which is perfect for us. It accommodates visits, it accommodates normally appointments, and it's pretty good with our schedule.
Okay. And then once you go to that open interview, if you get employment, do you intend to communicate that to the caseworker?
Absolutely. I just wanted to get this ticket taken care of before I made all these steps. I don't want to commit myself to a job and then all of a sudden have legal problems and end up in jail, and that causes stress on the employer. I just, I got to take care of this ticket before I make any big moves like that.
Okay. And then as far as your substance recovery, do you feel that you are currently in recovery?
Now I am. Before, like a couple months ago, no, because I was just taking my medication, but now I think I am because I'm getting the counseling part of it. I just need the meeting part of it, which, like I said, I need to find a good ride because most of the meetings that I'm able to attend to are at night. And if I drive, I'm getting pulled over, more legal troubles happen. I'm trying to find a good ride to take me there, which I did talk to my counselor, Debbie, and she's willing to take me.
Okay. And then have you ever talked to the department about possibly getting gas cards to attend some of those appointments?
No, we've only asked for a gas card to the psychological, but that was months back when it was scheduled. And that was the only time that I think that time and a prior time before that, but we haven't asked for gas cards recently now.
Okay. If you were able to get gas cards, would you utilize those to attend some NA or AA meetings?
Absolutely. I mean, to be honest with you, I just haven't asked the department for gas cards just because I feel like I can fund that at the moment. And if I really absolutely needed a gas card, then I would ask for it. But I just feel like that should be used for more, purposes.
Okay. And then
sorry, I was just saying at this moment I can fund my own gas at the moment.
Okay. And then in the case service report, it states that you're non-compliant with completing those PBT breathalyzer tests prior to your scheduled parenting time. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, yeah, to be honest with you, we were doing the PBD testings, and then it became a hassle for us because we were barely getting time once we woke up to get all the way to Onstead for visits, to be able to drive legally. It just, to be honest with you, because some of the PBTs were on Thursdays. And then to be honest, not only with you, I didn't see a true point in it because I don't drink. I do see from my old man because he does have a past DUI, but I don't see from me personally because I don't drink.
Okay, so if you were able to do that testing somewhere closer to the visits, is that something that you would consider engaging in?
Yeah, I don't mind that. I'm just saying, for me personally, I just didn't see a point in the PBT testing, and I felt that it was a waste of the department's money for paying for the PBT testings when we don't drink before visits.
Okay. If that's what it takes, if it takes getting those tests though to be able to be compliant with the case service plan, is that something that you're willing to do?
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want the court to know that you haven't already stated or been asked?
No.
Okay, I have nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. McFarland?
Just a couple questions on the gas card situation. You would agree that if you got some gas cards, you'd be able to save up some more money to pay off on the bench warrant, maybe for housing, right?
It's a fair statement, yes.
If you get this job at Plastic Omnium, because you and father here cannot legally drive, how would you get to work?
I can walk, it's just down Beecher,
Fair enough.
and I also have a bike.
Okay. How much do you owe on the bench warrant?
I believe it's like maybe 200 and something.
How much time do you think you're gonna be able to get that around?
Truthfully, to be honest with you, maybe a couple days.
Okay. You need help to legally get to visitation, so neither you nor father are driving to Onstead.
It would help. I think that was his mom. She is pretty good about letting us stay the night.
Okay.
So it's not like a problem that we couldn't find a ride to get out there or her come and pick us up. It's not a problem with her. She's already volunteered to come and pick up Kyler for Thursday visits if the unsupervised was to be explored.
Great. And how much do you owe to 7-Eleven?
And from what they're saying, 600.
Do you have a time frame in which you have to pay that?
They want it paid immediately.
That's what you said last time, I know.
I know, but realistically, I'm gonna need a little bit of time with them. And I do wanna fight it because I don't feel that it's right for them to charge me that much when I didn't do that much.
Are you working with the court system on that?
But I really should be. I've just been scared out of my boots. Cause I don't wanna like hurt something with the case and I'm just trying to do my best. I'm just trying to get my life straight.
I guess what I'm asking is there's an agency, part of the prosecutor's office that works on paying off things like this. Is this who you're going through?
I didn't know about that.
Okay. So on the 7-Eleven, is just the owner talking to you directly?
Well, to me and the Adrian detective or the Adrian police detective. Because the last one that we were talking to, he retired. So now there's a new one and I haven't talked to this one.
I mean, there's a financial diversion program.
Basically.
Are you aware of that? Are you going through that?
I don't know.
Okay, maybe your worker can help you on that.
Yes.
Okay.
I need to talk with my worker more about that.
Gotcha. Okay, nothing further.
Ms. Gerber, when you get your prescription drugs, are you getting a week at a time or a day at a time?
So I was getting a month at a time, but then I believe it was September, I missed my appointment. And then October, I missed my appointment. But I had enough because I've only been taking one a day to where I've been able to last. But lately they've been giving me 1 week bridge prescriptions until my appointment tomorrow morning at 8:20 so that I can get back on to where I am getting them monthly.
And is that in Saline that you have to go?
No, I do it over the phone and I pick them up at CVS here in Adrian.
Okay, are you prescribed how many a day?
I'm prescribed 2 a day, but I only take 1 a day.
To make them last longer?
Well, then, to be honest, I wanted to try to cut back and try to wean myself off of them. Because I only wanted to be on the Suboxone to help me with my opioid addiction, because that's what it's meant for. It's meant to help the cravings and the curbs and all that after you get sober from the current opiates.
What do your doctors say about using THC with your prescription?
A lot of people do use it with their prescription.
But have you talked to your doctor about it?
Yes, but like I said, a lot of other patients do use marijuana.
What does your doctor say about it?
Nothing, to be honest.
So you told her that you're using THC with your prescription and your doctor's okay with that?
Yes, there are other patients like myself that use marijuana too.
So if we bring your doctor in, your doctor will say she agrees with you to do THC and your Suboxone.
Absolutely.
And when you see your son, do you agree with the early on assessment of his development?
Yes, I do. There are things that we are working with him on that I do agree with, like his speech, identifying things, drinking from cups, using silverware, drawing and coloring, getting on like bikes or seats, or getting off of them. Those are things that we're all learning, but we've only been to one session. We have another session tomorrow.
Okay, since the last review, it's been about 3 months. Have you been to AA or NA?
I have not, but to be honest, like I said, I've been trying to find transportation to take me back and forth, and I finally did, which was my counselor, Debbie. Didn't think that she would, but I went ahead and asked her one day, and she said that she would.
We've talked about this at every review, that there's online meetings you could attend. Could those help you?
They could, but I do feel like in-person meetings, like how you and I are speaking, I feel like I get more out of it. Like over online, I don't feel like I get much out of it. Not only that, how am I supposed to get proof that I went to this meeting for the department and for the court?
Well, I think the proof would be when you show up here and we see you in recovery like we used to see when you were setting up meetings and you were chairing meetings. You were super healthy.
I understand that, but I'm like I said, I'm trying. I'm doing one thing at a time.
That sounds good. In this assessment, your psychological assessment, your scale, when they tested you, they found that you were really elevated in an area, double the area where it would suggest that you show low frustration tolerance.
I'm still trying to understand what that means, to be honest with you.
Okay, so you are familiar with that score from your court report?
I am, but I'm still trying to understand what what he means in the psychological. I'm slowly breaking it down bit by bit if I can.
That's a really great answer. Thank you for paying attention to all that information in the court report. I have nothing further.
Any redirect?
Just a couple points of clarification. Ms. Gerber, are you aware that the 7-Eleven issue, that they've submitted those charges to the prosecuting attorney? You're gonna speak up.
I did not.
Okay, so you're not aware that a warrant was issued on October 23rd, 2024 for embezzlement? You keep saying, you've mentioned a few times during your testimony, you've had a lot of financial burdens in the last couple of weeks. So prior to the last couple of weeks, have you done anything to help yourself with budgeting and trying to figure out how to pay back fines or the outstanding amount from 7-Eleven? I'm not trying to put you on the spot. We're really trying to figure out like where efforts for help need to be.
It's just a lot. I've been trying my best. And it's not like I haven't been trying. If I could show my emails of jobs I've applied to, apartments I've applied to.
That is information that you can share with Ms. Kavinsky. You know that, correct?
I'm just saying, like, it's just, I've been doing a lot. And I feel like this job at Plastic Avenue would help my financial burden, at least some.
And you mentioned that, I'm trying to understand this. You get your Suboxone prescription by attending appointments on the phone,
Yeah,
but you've missed 2 months worth of appointments.
I'm sorry.
Wait.
One more.
So you attend your appointments for specs and on the phone, but you missed September and October's appointments?
Yes, and I was able to make my August supply last week.
Okay,
I was going a couple of days without my prescription, as my drug tests have been shown.
I'm just wondering why you're missing phone appointments that do not require transportation.
I wasn't trying to miss those appointments. Either my phone was dead, or I was at a visit, or I just simply forgot because I have so much going on. I'm under a lot of pressure and I just have a lot, and I'm trying to take on a million things at once, and I don't realize that I just have to do everything one at a time.
Okay, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any follow-up questions, Ms. Stain?
No, thank you.
Mr. McFarland?
Just one. I believe the court report says that the agency would like a family team meeting for both my client and yours, which my client's agreeable, to go over the psychological evaluation. Is that something that you would do with my client?
Yeah.
Or separately, if that's what they want to?
Yeah.
Okay, nothing further.
Ms. Heiss?
Nothing.
Thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seat. Next witness, Ms. Thomas.
I'll call Mr. Piper briefly, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Piper?
Good morning, Mr. Piper. We'll try to make this brief. Did you have an opportunity to read the court report?
Yes,
And do you have any, are there any components in it that you do not agree with relating to you?
not that I'm aware of.
Okay. It looks like you're in pretty much compliance with a big chunk of your case service plan. Do you feel that's accurate?
Yes, just one thing, I know Karen said that I need to get into like marriage or couples counseling, and we got that started, so just have to go to the first appointment.
Did you did you have a chance to review your psychological on your own?
Yeah,
Okay. Do you happen to know if your therapist has it?
I'm not sure if she does or not. I don't think so. I mean, I could send it to her.
Okay, the report says that Ms. Goodsey did email to you and your therapist, so I think she probably does, but just wanted
Okay.
to see if you were aware of that at all. Let's see, and so you are in individual therapy right now?
Yeah,
All right, do you think that you are consistent with your appointments?
I missed one because of a job, but I rescheduled that, and that reschedule was last Friday.
And housing, other than anything Ms. Gerber said, is there anything you'd like to say about housing?
No, just we need to get a different place.
I know that you do a lot of self-employment work with landscaping and I believe scrapping. Have you provided Ms. Gavinsky with any income or proof of income for October?
I don't think we have, but we can get it.
Okay. At this point, do you feel that your self-employment work is sufficient to cover all of your bills and provide for your child?
Yeah,
Okay. And do you have any outstanding tickets that need to be paid?
no,
Right now, you do not have a license, is that correct?
yeah.
What needs to happen for you to get a license?
I need to do like AA, all that stuff. I think I explained last time in court what I had to do.
Did you do any of it during the last 3 months?
Well, I started the counseling, that's part of it. And then AA, I was gonna start up. There's like 10 different things you have to do, like, to have it, like, I have to have the list in front of me to,
Does it sound like having 90 meetings?
everything oh, sorry for interrupting.
That's okay.
I was just gonna say, everything has to be done within 3 months.
Right.
Of your, like, going to see the judge.
So in 3 months, you have to have 90 meetings, so one a day.
Yeah,
And then 3 letters from people regarding your sobriety and character.
I thought it was 10 letters, but
Have you went downstairs to talk with anyone about like having a list in front of you to see what you need?
well, I've been to DHS or wherever DHS is at that building.
Okay.
I've been there and went down and got the paper packet.
Oh, Secretary of State?
Yeah,
Okay. And then, is there anything else you want to add about the PBTs?
The PBTs, I just don't understand them. I'm not gonna drink and go visit my kid. Why would I do that? I don't understand. I mean, we proved for what, it was like at least a month and a half that we weren't doing it.
The report indicates that there were 2 tests on 9/9 and 9/23. Those are the only 2 tests that you've completed during this review period.
No, I'm saying like before that, we did like a month and a half worth of testing. How does that not prove that we're not drinking at visits?
Are you aware that you were court ordered into a case service plan?
Yes,
Okay. Now, are you aware of what your case service plan says?
yes,
So you're aware that a court ordered case service plan indicates that prior to parenting time, you shall complete a PBT test 1 hour prior to scheduled parenting time and upon request at the Lenawee County Sheriff's Department.
yeah. But also, like driving up there, we don't have no licenses. What's the point of driving up there with no license just to do a PBT test?
But that, I have no further questions of Mr. Faber.
Any questions, Ms. Stang?
No, thank you.
Mr. McBride?
You and I have also discussed that part of that driver's license restoration hearing would be you have to testify on your oath that you've not driven illegally within the last year, right?
Yes,
If I hear you correctly, you're saying you don't want to get in trouble driving to the sheriff department to take a PBT test. Am I correct there?
yes.
How far do you live from the sheriff department?
Like a mile and a half probably.
Okay, somebody may ask, why couldn't you ride a bike like mother or walk there to take a PBT test prior?
I can.
Would you have any objection to taking the test wherever you have the supervised visits? Would that be okay with you?
Yeah,
Are you asking the court to change the PBT test to have them available where you are visiting?
that's fine with me.
Is there a worker there when you visit or not?
Not at my mom's, but the other visits on Mondays, yeah. There's a work.
At your current job, you don't have any insurance for the kids, right?
I have insurance through Medicaid.
Okay. Some may ask, why don't you get a steady job like at Plastic Omnium where mom wants to apply, where you could walk there, you wouldn't have to worry about driving or take a bike, and you'd have constant employment and possibly more benefits. What's your thoughts on that?
My thoughts is it's not a bad idea, but we were trying to get Emily's permit and take care of that bench warrant so we could keep doing what we're doing because we're making a lot of money.
You do realize that the worker needs some proof that you're making money.
I have proof.
I imagine some of these jobs are paid in cash and like that, right?
Yeah, most of them are paid on like Cash App, Venmo, or
Okay, so there's some type of proof of what you received that you could take a snapshot on your phone and just send it to her, text it to her, right?
yeah,
Can you do that in the future?
I'll do that today.
Perfect, okay. Where do you think you need, well, you read in the case service plan that they want to have a family team meeting to discuss the psychological evaluation and the recommendations. Are you agreeable with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there some point on the case service plan that you think you need help with?
Just like getting my license back and the housing also.
Now your license back, you're kind of shot for at least a year of not having to drive, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so did you tell me you have some type of meeting in housing today?
That's what Emily told me, that we had because when she,
Okay, I'll, so you don't know, it sounds like, right?
I know that we've turned in some paperwork for it.
Okay. Any questions or concerns that you haven't expressed regarding your case service plan?
No.
What are your thoughts about supervised rather than unsupervised parenting time for you?
I don't think it would hurt. We already have one unsupervised. I don't see what another one would hurt.
Was that with just you or both of you?
Both of us.
When was that? That within this last reporting period?
We've been having those at my mom's house every Thursday.
Well, she's the supervisor because she's there, right?
Yeah,
Unsupervised, I mean, you going not with your mom, but going to the library or going to someplace public or private. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think you're ready for that?
yeah,
Is that what you would like the court to give them the discretion to do, is to expand this into unsupervised for you?
I would like at least for them to try it out and see how we do.
What happens if they agree that you could have unsupervised, but mom needs supervised? Would you have visits by yourself if that were the case?
Yeah,
You know what your feelings were on that? I think we've covered everything that you want to express to the court.
yes,
Any questions or concerns that you haven't expressed?
no.
Nothing further.
Questions, Ms. Thomas, or I'm sorry, Ms. Heiss?
In the course of the work that you do now, do you have a truck that you use
Yeah,
and you drive that?
Your Honor, I'm going to ask my client to invoke his Fifth Amendment on whether he's driving legally or illegally.
Well, yeah, and it's a civil case and I'm gonna ask whether how he gets to.
It is, but it could be used against him criminally, Your Honor. So if I would at least tell him that he has a right to invoke that, wishes not to incriminate himself criminally, because that's a question is asked about criminality is what's being asked.
He has selectively invoked the Fifth Amendment. I think if he's gonna invoke the Fifth Amendment, we needed to know it. And now here we are with half of the information. I mean, I suppose it's obvious how everything's happening, but I think it's important for us to help parents see the disconnect between what they say they want and what is actually legally possible. And this question is intended to help bridge that gap.
All right, well, could I ask you to perhaps approach it a different way?
Sure, thank you, Your Honor. So without your driver's license, who takes you to visits in Onstead?
usually Emily would drive and,
Okay, but is the car registered to you?
yeah,
Is the truck registered?
yeah. Well, it's in my name.
Okay, and it has current tags on it and all that kind of stuff?
No, Emily just said it didn't have insurance on it.
How do you think Kyler's doing in his current placement? Are his needs being met?
Yeah.
Okay, I have nothing further.
Thomas,
No further questions, Your Honor.
any recross?
No.
Thank you for your testimony. We return to your seat. Okay, any other witnesses, Ms. Thomas?
Briefly, Ms. Galinsky to waive foundation to report. Good morning, Ms. Galinsky.
Hello.
Just briefly, there's a court report you provided today, which includes its cover page, proof of service, the report, case service plans for the parent psyche evals, updated counseling report for Mr. Piper in September, early on reports for the child, the foster care visitation reports, and then forensic fluid screens for Ms. Gerber. Are there any other documents that have been circulated since you provided this report to the court and to the parties?
No.
Are there any updates or modifications that need to be made to the report or the documents included?
I do not believe so, no.
At this time, the report indicates that, well, let me just ask you to highlight, do you believe that there would still be a substantial risk of harm if the child were to be returned to parents' care and custody today?
Yes.
And briefly, what is that risk of harm?
It would be their emotional stability, housing, substance abuse continues to be an ongoing issue that needs to be addressed, conflict resolution, all of the same things that brought this child into care.
So it's your opinion that the conditions that cause a child to come into care have not been rectified?
Yes.
Okay. Your recommendation for the permanency planning component is still for reunification, is that correct?
Yes.
And you are also asking for visitation to be transitioned into unsupervised?
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
I would plan to have an FTM with Emily and Wesley where they would need to describe to me what unsupervised visitation is going to look like. I would like to challenge them to use their own natural supports to figure out transportation for their son, that transportation provider would need to be approved by the department. They need to have a valid driver's license. They would need to identify a consistent, safe place that they could visit their child unsupervised, and then they would need to keep up with the same skills that they already have during parenting time. They do well in their visits right now, so.
Are there any other services that can be offered to them at this point in time?
I mean, most recently, I have given a referral for a parent aid with Linda Edwards, so that's the newest service that they have, but I think they need to engage fully in the services that they already have been offered.
The report sort of makes it seem like a lot of progress, or these services really didn't start until October, the last, like maybe within the last month or so.
Mm-hmm.
For the record, you gotta say yes or no.
Yes.
Okay. Is there anything regarding the child that you'd like to update the board on?
Nothing specific, no.
Okay, child's still doing well in the court order placement,
Yes, he's doing very well.
and you're requesting that placement to continue?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, Your Honor, I have no further questions of Ms. Kaminsky and move to admit to the court report with its attachments.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
Thank you there. Received cross-examination questions, Ms. Stang.
Yes, just briefly. On the case service report, you indicated that Emily Gerber was partial compliance under Section 5, and that specifically is with regards to not being under the influence of substances for parenting time with their child. Can you tell us why that's only partial compliance and not just compliant?
Yes, because Emily tests positive for THC, and I always test her before parenting time.
Okay. Do you think that Emily appears to actually be high off of THC at the parenting time, or did her drug test show that she had taken THC at some point?
Yes, just that her drug test shows that she's taken THC.
Okay. Wouldn't you agree though that if the question is will not be under the influence of substances for parenting time with their child, and if she's not actively high, then she would be compliant?
If she wasn't actively high, I would agree with that.
Okay. And you just stated that she's not actively high when she's there for parenting time, correct?
She's testing positive. Some of the drug screens are very, very high in the THC section, so I would like to consult with forensic fluids to see if she is, like, if they would deem that high.
Okay. Okay, so you're not entirely sure then if she actually is actively high or not, and weren't sure when you filled out this case service report, correct?
I'm sure that she's testing positive for THC on her drug screens.
And then under the same Section 5, Part P, which is in regards to agreeing to address substance abuse history through services and will participate in scheduled and random drug screens. You also stated partial compliance for that one as well. Can you explain why that was only partial compliance?
Yes, because she's just barely begun exploring her substance abuse history with services.
Okay, so it wasn't actually in regards to the participating in scheduled and random drug screens then?
Correct.
Okay. I have nothing further. Thank you.
Mr. McFarland.
You would agree that on a supervised visit, that if a parent appeared to be inebriated with any controlled substance, that parenting time would be stopped, correct?
Correct.
That has not been done with mom or dad, correct?
Correct.
You heard dad indicate that he doesn't want to get a driving license suspended for having to take a PBT test at the sheriff department, correct? You heard him say that today.
That he doesn't want to get his license suspended.
He doesn't want to be put in a situation where he has to drive to the sheriff department to take a PBT test because he doesn't want to be arrested. You heard him say that, correct?
I did hear him say that, yes.
You think maybe we might be setting him up to be arrested, possibly by having him do that at the sheriff department?
No.
Well, is there any way that we can have that done at the location or on his way to visit?
I don't know if there is a location in Onstead. It's something I could explore, but their visits start at 8:30 a.m. They can test 15 minutes before their call time, which is 8 a.m. So he could be there at 7:45, do his PBT, and then go to Onstead. That's It's only about a 20-minute drive out to his mom's house where the visit occurs, so he has plenty of time to walk over to the sheriff's office, do the PBT, and then go to his mom's.
How far is it from his house to the sheriff department?
He indicated about 1.5 miles.
Well, 2 miles an hour, that's half an hour there, half an hour back. That's an hour, right? That give him enough time?
I don't know how long he could ride a bike. I don't know how long it would take for him to get over to the sheriff's office walking.
Is there any way that we can have a PBT available prior to his visit at the visit site?
No, I don't have, the department doesn't have like a mobile PBT system.
Has he ever, well, I think you already answered that. He's not appeared to be under the influence of alcohol at any of these parenting times, or else his time would be stopped, right?
No, he hasn't appeared under the influence of alcohol.
So why is it still necessary for him to take a PBT if he's not appeared, not taking the PBT test, but he's not appeared to be under the influence of alcohol? Why is that a necessity?
I mean, he has a significant history of alcohol abuse that he has indicated that's led to multiple DUIs and probation for alcohol abuse, as well as his psychological evaluation indicated that he hasn't really fully addressed that history.
The visits are at the placement, correct?
No.
Where are they at?
They have visits in the community, a lot of places. We do the park. They just recently started at DHS with Linda Edwards. I think they've had maybe 2 now, and then the rest are at grandma's house, Wesley's mother's house.
Okay. And you trust that Linda Edwards would stop a visitation or not allow it if he were under the influence of alcohol, correct?
Yes.
And also his mother would also stop it if he was under the influence of alcohol, correct?
Yes.
Since we're all on the same page that he's not supposed to drive, he can't drive. Is there any way the agency can assist him getting to his services and visits?
To his services, I can look into options. We have bus tokens at the department. I would encourage him to use his natural supports to get to services. For visits, I have offered to transport because I already transport their son to the visits. I've offered to pick them up along the way. So, but they have not taken me up on that.
Also, my client indicates his mother would be able to provide transportation on Thursdays. Is that something that is that what you're talking about, him stepping up?
For him or for the child?
For him to have visits, that she'd be able to take the child wherever.
I would explore it with her if that's something that she would be able to do and if she'd want to do.
How long are the visits?
Right now, they're 4 hours.
They're 8:30 at night, right?
No, 8:30 a.m. to 12:30
Oh,
p.m.
so that could be done at the public library here in Adrian if she could come into town, right?
We've had visits at the library.
Okay, are there other places, public visits, that would be suitable for my client to have visits with the child?
Yes, but I would also like to challenge him to indicate what those places are where he could take his child and have an appropriate visit.
Otherwise, you'd like to challenge him. Are you saying as a worker, you won't assist them in finding its solutions?
I will, and I have.
Oh, I'm asking you, what have you suggested other than a library?
We've gone to the park. I've suggested his mother's that we've done, and it took a while for them to want to kind of ask her. It seemed like maybe they didn't want to, I don't know how to say, like, put the pressure on her, like, to be involved in this. So they just didn't want to be a burden to her for a while. But if they have ideas, I'm willing to explore those ideas with them.
Well, the reason I'm asking is that I'm kind of lost at ideas to recommend to him, because I think you have a policy after a certain date with the weather, park visits are out, correct?
Correct.
So other than the library and his mother's house, I don't know what's available. That's why I'm asking you what would be available.
I mean, we could explore a place, and if it would be willing to host them, I wouldn't pressure them into that.
So do you think maybe at the family team meeting for the psychological evaluation review, you could also look into other places where they could have visits?
Yes.
Nothing further.
That's nice.
It looks like you had a family team meeting August 28th. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Have we had another family team meeting since then?
No.
would you be open to leaving the visit supervised until we have a family team meeting? And then if there is a plan, we could petition the court for unsupervised visits.
I'd be open to it, but I would also like to maybe just ask for it to be at the discretion of the department. And if the parents can't identify an appropriate place for parenting time, then we would remain supervised.
So what I'm worried about is the DHS policy that would default to unsupervised in the event that there isn't a problem in this review period. In addition, may I be invited to the FTM to organize this going forward if judge authorizes unsupervised visits?
Yes.
Do you think if this child were to be returned after a visit with a bruise, a break, a bump, a scratch, a scrape, can we trust these parents to tell us what happened?
Your Honor, objecting, it sounds like a question for speculative question.
I agree.
Would you like to ask a different one? Or do you want her to expect, it's okay with me if she answers too. I mean, we need to know what's gonna happen.
Well, do you trust these parents to report accurately during an unsupervised visit?
I don't know. I have a good rapport with them. They've been pretty honest about very difficult subjects. I mean, even for example, Emily coming to me telling me that she has a bench warrant. I know that was not exciting news to share with me, so I don't know. So
Do you think unsupervised would be together with both parents with Kyler? Sorry, Kate, Pete?
yes, but I'm willing to explore either way.
Do you think that the father would discontinue a visit if he saw a mother do something inappropriate?
Once again, Your Honor, I am objecting as to speculation.
Okay, I'll ask it a different way. Do you think mom and dad have told the truth here today about everything? Let me ask you, do you think dad doesn't know that he's supposed to turn his income into you? Do you think that's news to him?
No, that's not news to him.
So him indicating today that he's certainly willing to do it, but he hasn't done it, is that true?
True.
So in a way, it feels like we're trying an experiment with the child by allowing unsupervised visits, and we'll see how it goes. Tell me that's not true, how that's not true.
I feel like there has not been, I know there has not been an issue that has occurred in parenting time to date. So that is what it is. Like, I have not observed any issues in their parenting skills.
Thank you, I have nothing further.
Okay. Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Recross?
Just one. There's been no reported defects in their parenting skills from my client's mother who supervises or Linda Edwards who supervises either, correct?
Correct.
Nothing further.
Staying, any questions?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. You may return your seat. Anyone else, Ms. Thomas? No, Your Honor. Ms. Stang?
No, thank you.
Mr. McFarland?
No, thank you.
Ms. Hess?
No, thank you.
Closing comments, Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think this court is very aware of the facts of this matter. We've just, as Ms. Heiss indicated, her report of the child. We knew very early on that this would be a quote unquote quick case. We've been under an order of, or the initial disposition happened in March 5th of 2024. So we are over that 6-month period that we assumed we would be at with this case. And I know that at this point in time, the agency is asking for continued goal of reunification and to even move towards unsupervised parenting time. I will honor their request and present that to the court with the, while acknowledging that what we heard today mimics a lot of what we've heard in the past. And it's not because I don't think that Mr. Piper or Ms. Gerber are trying, but it doesn't seem that it's resonating. that the wordings from this court are resonating, that the needs of the child are resonating, that the work that they need to do to reunify with their child is resonating. We've heard they simply just didn't think that they needed to take the PBTs, and so they just didn't. And then there's the excuses of, well, we don't want to transfer ourselves there because we don't have licenses, but we know that they're transferring themselves to do all this other side work, that they're quote unquote making sufficient money to pay their bills, yet they're not paying back. They're not able to make payments on the tickets that prevent Ms. Gerber from having her driver's permit. They sort of have this lackadaisical lifestyle where they can kind of come and go as they please with no work schedule, but neither of them can attend AA or NA every day. These are all really significant concerns for a family that's been part of our system for years. And frankly, we do have to look at the well-being of the child whose needs are being met in this current placement, who is doing really well. And I just ask the court to take all of its knowledge and considering how it decides to move forward. But if the court is going to extend to unsupervised parenting time, I would like the record to be very clear that the point is to challenge the parents, not to have more hand-holding from the department, not for the department to be the ones to develop ideas as to where parenting time is going to be. Reasonable efforts are simply ensuring that the parents have referrals where they need to go. It is on the parents to have a commensurate involvement in their case service plan and participate in that and make these decisions that benefit themselves and their child. And so I would ask the court to also make that very clear in whatever findings the court makes today. Thank you.
Your Honor, are we addressing a permanency planning hearing as well?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Comments, Ms. Stang?
Yes, we would request the standard 90-day review, and that the department or designee have the discretion to have supervised and or unsupervised visits for both parents, since they do have those visits together, obviously. And with regard to section S of the case service plan, which involves the requirement of the PBT testing for both parents 1 hour prior to that parenting time, we would request that that be removed from the case service plan requirements due to the undue burden placed on the parents with them not having the driver's license as testified today, and due to the testimony given by the worker for the department today that if the parents did seem to be impaired or intoxicated, those visits would be immediately stopped. We believe that it's just not necessary at this point, and it is causing, like I said, that undue burden on the parents to be in a predicament of either having to drive without a license or be in non-compliance with that aspect of their case service plan.
Mr. McFarland?
I would pick up in addition to that, worker testified she believed Linda Edwards and my client's mother would report and would immediately stop or prevent the parenting time if either parent tested positive or appeared to be under the influence of anything. I think maybe a better way, a preferred method would be a surprise PBT test on my client, where the driver comes out to my client's house and say, "Hey, we're blowing a PBT, Your Honor." That way he could demonstrate to everybody that he's not drinking. I mean, he's had both of them have a continued period of not appearing to be under the influence of anything at a visit. So we are also asking that that PBT prior to the visits be terminated. My client has no problem being randomly tested, Your Honor, which I think would more accurately reflect him being sober 24 hours anytime if he knew that was the case, Your Honor. In addition, mother seems to confide issues to the worker, and I think that's important. My client's going to be going over a psychological evaluation. I'm kind of out of ideas of where he can meet other than the library or his parents' home, so we would welcome any input from the workers where other parents are meeting, other ideas, whether than McDonald's or someplace like that. I don't know if a fast food is really a good place to meet, so I'm not sure what areas are really available. So we're kind of reaching out for suggestions on that, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. I've been really clear with the parents in these review periods, and so have they. They're not going to do your case service plan. They're going to do it their way. And although they do have some successes, they are not going to do what's needed to reduce the risk of harm. I would ask you to consider that they know that alcohol is a symptom of the disease, and even if you got rid of the alcohol, there's still the underlying issues that cause people to live in addiction. We're not asking that he abstains for an hour or 2 or 4 during visits. We're asking him to address his addiction issue. In the event that we have a family team meeting, I will make every effort to get to it and make sure that we don't just, Ms. Edwards is so accommodating. She'll do the transportation in a minute. And I do think that it's appropriate to have these parents step up and show us that they can parent. This is a permanency planning hearing, and I will indicate that the goal for this child should be adoption. I know that agency is not in alignment with that. I don't know if they maybe haven't been here for the last, in this case, obviously the agency has been here, but maybe not these exact workers, since 3 other children have gone through this process. The child has a good placement. I'm so encouraged to know that Mr. Piper's mother is able to help in this case plan, but it is not her duty. I would ask you to consider that my request is to move to an adoption as a goal, but also if you would make next review a permanency planning review again also. Thank you.
Thank you. The court finds all interested parties are given notice for purposes of today's review hearing, as well as permanency planning hearing. In the last report period, it does appear that some progress was made. Both parents attended their psychological evaluations and have very recently engaged in some services in anticipation of testimony today. Ms. Gerber has been taking her Suboxone and trying to make progress in different areas. Both parents really have. But I also think Ms. Heist is correct when she observes that this case was supposed to be one that had a shortened time frame for observation. And I would note also that this child has been removed since February 6th of 2024. So even though we are just slightly over 6 months for disposition, the practical fact remains that this child has been away from both of these parents since February of this year. So that's really we're over 9 months out of removal. As I look back on our report periods in deciding what direction this case should take, I obviously have to put the interest of the child at the forefront of any decision-making that I do. So as much as I love that the parents appear to be serious about trying to make some progress at this point, I have to also look at what's been happening, and I cannot ignore, frankly, the amount of time that the child has already been removed from the parents. At the time the child was removed, he spent quite a bit of time in the hospital because he was born positive for some significant substances. His recent early on testing indicates that he has some delays in language and communication, developmental delays. He's in the process of being tested for autism and is beginning to display some behaviors during daycare and during some other times that indicate that he is going to have some additional challenges beyond those that a normal child would have. He is doing well in the place where he's at. He's been there, frankly, since even before removal. I was confident in the choices actually that the parents made at the outset of this to allow this child to be placed with this set of foster parents, which I hope they're working on licensing. I didn't ask that question, but so be it, signaling from the bench right here that we need to be working with this family toward licensing. Because this child has been out of care since February. And we have some progress, but not nearly enough that we would be able to really look at reunification within the next 6 months even. We would need, if I look at a very reasonable estimation of time supplied by Dr. Haugen, he recommends in both parents' cases, and I think just in general, a good rule of thumb, frankly, especially in this case, given the history, that it's important, then I'm just quoting from the recommendations, it's important that he and she, because this isn't both, obtain and maintain housing, income, and develop a consistent and responsible lifestyle. This should be in existence for at least 6 to 9 months prior to reunification. So let's put this into context. This child was removed in February. The parents can't show us at this point in time that they have housing appropriate for the child, consistent and reliable income, especially when that's compromised by a number of court cases, and the ever, oh, that's not the word I'm looking for. It's sort of like the fan in this room. It's always on. There's always a threat that at any point in time, either of these parents could be picked up for driving without a license and be set back even further with additional court fines, jail time, and other risks associated with driving without a license. And I understand that these are an overwhelming number of issues to ask the parents to address at the same time. I get that. But I have to look at what is in the best interest of their child. And asking this child to wait another I don't know when we get to housing, income, and consistent responsible lifestyle and then wait 6 to 9 months. It's frankly unreasonable under the circumstances, especially given that this child is going to be a higher needs child, is already indicating some pretty significant things along those lines, and he's going to need that increased stability, that increased permanency. He's going to need to be able to rely on the structure of a home in order to be able to overcome or even accommodate some of those challenges. Now, does that have to be adoption? Maybe not. If we can, I would like to ask that a permanency planning hearing be conducted to look at not only adoption, but also juvenile guardianship. Again, this is especially a case where we have an example where a family should be working on licensing nearly right off the bat to make sure that that can be an option, because we would have under guardianship the requirement that this family be licensed, right? So that could potentially get in the way of a very reasonable outcome, given the parents' bond and demonstration that they're doing well during parenting time with this child. So please have a permanency planning hearing on what the goal should be moving forward. I did not hear enough, frankly, in this review and permanency planning hearing to really make a decision on what direction this should go. But I agree with Ms. Heiss. The reunification is really not our best option. And frankly, I would expect that our caseworkers would really have an eye on where we are in a case. When I have a child that's been removed for 9 months and we have very little progress that's been made in some really significant areas, I'm not looking at expanding parenting time. I'm looking at what are we going to do with this child moving forward in cases like this one. I'll give you an example. So this was our third dispositional review. At our second review, we had many of all of the same issues. We needed both of the parents to engage in couples counseling, individual counseling. Mr. Piper had failed to qualify for counseling because he didn't think there was any issues, and that's reflected in the psychological evaluation here as well. They're starting to make some modicum of progress, but even into June of this past year and June of this year, we had Ms. Gerber struggling to get on firm ground with her recovery. It's not very long ago, and considering the fact that the child was removed again in February, I really need to look at the stability and permanency of this child as much as I want to root for these parents. So with that in mind, I'll be looking for an update on licensing and permanency planning for this child in the next report period. Also, given the buzz of risk associated with these parents being arrested at any point in time for driving around, I'm not authorizing an increase in parenting time to unsupervised visits. There's no chance that I'm going to allow these parents to try to transport this child and then we get a phone call that the child needs to be returned to the foster parents because we have a parent who's been arrested either for a bench warrant or for simply just driving without insurance or driving without a license. And I can appreciate asking us to challenge them to find some legal transportation, but really in the scope of things, when I look at things from a wider perspective, that's not where I want their focus. I want their focus on establishing the foundational things that would result in reunification. And until we see some real strong indicators that that's happening, we're going to leave the bond formation where it's at, and I'm happy to continue to listen to more evidence on that piece as we move forward. But at this point in time, I'm not expanding to unsupervised visitation. I find reasonable efforts towards the goal of reunification are being made in this case. That was demonstrated by Ms. Kavinsky's testimony, especially under cross-examination. We'll give you a nod for that. You did well. Thank you for your patience in answering so many of the questions. I think a lot of the casework gets taken for granted that we don't get to hear about or understand firsthand. And so that results sometimes in some questions that may seem impertinent, uncomfortable, or simply wild, I think, sometimes, frankly. But I've read your court report, I've listened to your testimony, and I do know that you are working very diligently to try to support the parents and the child in this case. As is Ms. Heiss. Thank you so much for all of your efforts. All right, I'm going to give you your next permanency planning hearing and review date, understanding that our goal will be in flux until that point. Essentially, I'm considering adoption, reunification, and juvenile guardianship. Not necessarily in that order. We have to cross out reunification first. Yes, Ms. Stain?
Address the request from me and Mr. McFarland regarding the PBT testing.
Okay. So let me just tell you this. And I appreciate that Mr. Piper was honest during his psychological evaluation. But what he disclosed in that, Ms. Stain, was that the last time he drank, he was a few days ago before his psychological evaluation, and he only had 4 to 5 years. And that he slowed down his drinking after he had his child and potentially after he had his 2 DUIs. So I do think that there is an alcohol issue here. So I'll make you a deal, Mr. Piper. If you are treating for, if you're going to counseling and you're going to SUD and you're being honest about your using and you're addressing that, then I don't think we need to enforce the PBTs. But until we have an actual substance-free household here, there's an issue, especially when we have 2 DUIs and a lot of other things that these parents need to be focusing on, like housing and income and employment, and taking a break to spend money on alcohol, frankly, in light of everything that's going on here, not the most responsible choice. So advocating to release him from that obligation, understanding that he is still using alcohol, doesn't necessarily bode well for your client, but balancing that with the idea that I want him to get into some services, I'll make it that deal.
And what about us to my client? My client is Emily Gerber.
She doesn't have to test for alcohol.
Okay.
That's never historically been an issue for her. Again, we have bigger fish to fry.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Next review. All right. How about 10:30 Monday, February 3rd? Work? Yes,
sure.
Okay. So we'll be back at 10:30 a.m. on February 3rd, 2025 for a review and permanency planning hearing. I got to be with you all. Good luck in the next report.
Should they wait or will the court email them and mail?
If you could give me just a few minutes, I'll have the order ready for you. You're welcome to wait in the hall. Review, it looks like, second permanency planning hearing. And the names of our participants, please.
Carson Howitt, lawyer, guardian ad litem.
Nastasia Thomas, counsel for the department.
Leslie Conrad, foster care worker, Fostering Solutions.
Michael McFarland, representing father.
Father Wesley Piper.
Mother Emily Gerber.
Good morning, Honor. Ariel Berger here on behalf of Mother Emily.
Whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I was able to meet with the child in my office on January 22nd, 2025. I was able to observe and play with a variety of toys and have a conversation with his current placement. He's a huge fan of Elmo. He said it multiple times during our visit. He's reaching many developmental milestones, such as walking backwards, building towers, and pointing to things in a book like Elmo. I was very impressed with the placement. They're very invested in Kyler's development and committed to the child's development, committed to get him the help he needs. He still attends early on. The placement also supports the child in visiting with his biological brother, which I thought was cool, and fostering that relationship. So they've seen each other a handful of times and continue to seek out opportunities to do so. The child has bonded with his placement. I witnessed them referring to them as mom and dad, and this is brings me to another point that there's some confusion with this child. He refers to his placement as mom and dad. He refers to mom and dad as mom and dad, and just would like to see some permanency and stability built for this child's life moving forward. There's still concerns with the parents' lack of stability with housing, substance abuse, and financial stability. But ultimately, the child's needs are being met in the current placement, and it's in his best interest to stay there. No determination was made to the child's wishes due to his age.
Thank you. Witness testimony today, Ms. Thomas.
Yeah, and I'm going to call Ms. Conrad today. Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Conrad. Okay. Before us today, you have provided a court report that includes a cover sheet, proof of service, the report itself, case service plans for the parents, counseling progress notes for Mr. Piper in November, December, Ms. Gerber's forensic fluid drug screens, and then a couple of screenshots for reported work, and then a prescription for Ms. Gerber. Other than
Correct.
The documents that you have listed on that cover sheet, are there any that you have circulated since filing this packet?
I have not circulated since filing. However, this morning I did receive an additional forensic fluid screen result for Ms. Gerber and a January counseling report for Mr. Piper. So I have those physically with me today. They just came in this morning before I walked out the door.
Okay. So as it relates to updates and modifications to your report, are there any that you would like to put on the record at this time?
There would be one additional forensic fluids drug screen collected on 1/23/2025 for Ms. Gerber that is positive for THC and for Suboxone. That would be added to the report. And Mr. Piper's therapist at Dimensions of Wellness stated that in January he attended 3 sessions with her and that he was engaged actively during each session and continues to work towards his goals.
Okay. For the current or the new screen that is not necessarily part of your written report right now, are there any concerns about the THC or Suboxone?
No, the levels on this newest screen are consistent with many of the other screens in the past.
Thank you.
There's not a large number for the Suboxone like there was the screen previously.
But there is a valid prescription for that, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as it relates to, I guess, your casework, you are fairly new to the case. Is that fair to say?
Correct. Beginning of December, the case transferred to Fostering Solutions.
In the last couple of months, and also, I guess, since reviewing Ms. Dubinsky, the prior foster care workers note, how would you describe each parent's level of compliance with and benefit from the case service plan?
There's some level of compliance for both parents in some areas. The benefit shown from compliance seems to be where we are stagnant, where it appears as if it's been sort of the same report the last few hearings, in that perhaps there is engagement in some services. There might even be a little bit more engagement, especially on Mr. Piper's part, but there continue to be the same large barriers that have been existent since the time of removal, which would be financial instability, housing instability, and continued substance abuse from Ms. Gerber.
During this review period, your report indicates that there were, I believe, 2 positive screens for Ms. Gerber. Is that accurate?
Yes.
And I guess, just can you confirm, in your opinion, if she's being marked, or how do I want to say this? What positive means, right? Because today's screen that you got back was THC and Suboxone, but there's necessarily no concern with that because of the prescription. So there are 2 that you noted, though. And what was your concern with those?
Right, so there are 2 screens where there is a positive for an opioid of some sort. One was hydrocodone and one was oxycodone, both of which Ms. Gerber, when asked about it, admitted to and talked openly about having a relapse and using pill form of opiates. And then there's a 3rd screen that is not positive for, is only positive for THC and Suboxone, which she has a valid prescription for. However, the level of Suboxone is more than 1,000 when it typically runs between 3 and 20. So when I discussed that with her substance abuse therapist, there was concern on the therapist's part that there could be abuse of the Suboxone also happening right now while she's having some relapse concerns.
And this therapist, I believe there is a note in your report. Is it the same therapist that is concerned about the lack of engagement during January?
Yes, the quote that she stated was that progress in treatment is impaired by lack of attendance. I believe those were the words, something to that effect. I quoted it in the report.
Okay. And I believe as it relates to Ms. Gerber, your report also indicates that she was incarcerated very briefly on a charge that was, or an alleged crime from, I believe it was August or sometime in the summer. Do you have any updates on what's going on with that case?
She just confirmed today that she has a court hearing tomorrow in district court here in Lenawee County for a pretrial. In that case, she is being charged with embezzlement from an arrest that occurred while she was working at 7-Eleven. Or from an incident that occurred while she was working at 7-Eleven.
And as relates to Mr. Piper, you mentioned earlier in your testimony that there's been an increase in compliance with services. Can you just briefly summarize some of the services that he's more recently engaged with?
So there's more consistent attendance with individual counseling for Mr. Piper. And he is open and engages with the therapist while he's there. That appears to be an improvement for him. There was a lack of compliance in other areas that had previously had some compliance. There were no PBTs conducted during this report period. And then there was discussion at the November court hearing from the notes that I read regarding the kind of codependency issues within the marriage regarding substance abuse for both of them, and that marital counseling was very important for them to begin and engage in, and neither began that until January following that November court hearing. So we had 2 sessions since it was discussed here in November. He did provide screenshots of what he reports as income for the months of November, December, and January. There's no way to confirm that it's income, but it appears as if it is payment for work being done. So he has maintained some income into the household.
At the last hearing, the court sort of just noted that perhaps PBTs are not as necessary if dad is being open with his use and sort of addressing that. Do you believe that he's making any progress in addressing alcohol use and his history there with that?
There have been no parenting time observations that have indicated anyone that supervises parenting time has thought he's been under the influence during parenting time. That has not been a concern. And also his individual therapist talks about the fact that he is working on substance abuse treatment goals actively when he is meeting with her.
And speaking of parenting time, can you just briefly summarize how that's going if the parents are meeting expectations and any progress in expanding that or just wanting to keep it where it is?
Sure. Yeah. Consistency is there for parenting time. The parents both attend regularly. They are not late. They bring the items that are needed to care for him while they are there. They are attentive to the child. There are no concerns noted regarding their direct care of Kyler while spending supervised, structured time with him. There's also no history of them missing visits or appearing late for visits. That is not a concern of the agencies at this time.
I think in the past we've discussed moving towards unsupervised parenting time for the family. Do you have an opinion on that at this time?
Well, Ms. Gerber just admitted to a relapse in her substance use, and also talked about the fact that she, while struggling with that prior to and while engaging in the relapse, was not comfortable talking to her husband about those issues and did not want him to know about it. So there are concerns about whether or not there could be substance use going on that maybe both parents would not be aware of, that could be a risk to the child currently. We would not recommend unsupervised.
And some of the other concerns in the past have also been whether the parents have valid licenses. Do you know if there's any update on that?
I have not been given an update as to whether either has obtained their driver's license in this report period. No.
Okay. And have you, and I know that historically the issue of the housing and where unsupervised parenting time would take place has also been a concern. Have you observed their housing and whether that's appropriate or not?
I have not physically been inside of the home in this report period. I was invited last week by Ms. Gerber and Mr. Piper. They said they could stop by this week. The issue is that it is a shared home that they rent one room of, and the living space is shared by numerous other people who can change at any given time based on the landlord's decision of who lives there and who doesn't, and maintaining a level of safety and also not knowing who might be in the home would be impossible.
Based on your review of the case and the current status of it, do you believe that there has been sufficient progress to continue towards the goal of reunification?
So at 12 months in, we are required to really look at a case and all of its particulars to determine what is in the child's best interest permanency-wise. And because of Kyler's young age, because of the history of multiple prior terminations, and for mother and father being fully aware of those prior terminations and removals before having this child with mother. And then the continued lack of progress in the most significant barriers to reunification, the agency believes that it is time to look at a goal change for the child of adoption versus reunification.
In the past,
I'm sorry.
I'll let you finish your thought. Please continue.
It does not appear that the barriers that remain, that have been there since the moment of removal, are barriers that can be removed in a reasonable amount of time and then be monitored and maintained for a reasonable amount of time to ensure safety. We're talking about so many more months of care for this child that would not be in his best interest at his young age.
And one of the things I believe the court mentioned in the past is also to consider alternatives to adoption for him. Is the child still with a fictive kin caregiver?
Yes.
And have there been any discussions about whether like a guardianship of some form would be appropriate, whether they'd be willing to do that, and whether the caregivers would be willing to accept that appointment, and whether that would serve the child's best interest?
The caregivers would prefer the legal stability of an adoption versus a guardianship, but also are wanting to provide stability and predictability and permanence for Kyler, and will do whatever is required or asked of them to be able to do that. They would not refuse permanence through a guardianship if that's what the court decided, but they do prefer the idea of the legal permanency because he has so many years left of his childhood of adoption.
In generally speaking, what is the hierarchy, I guess, of permanency goals for children?
The most permanent and most stable it depends on which, would be, if you're talking about adoption versus guardianship, adoption is the most stable and permanency plan for a child. Guardianship is a little more fluid in that it could be altered at some point during the child's childhood if there were significant amounts of progress made by the legal parents, and a court decided that perhaps enough had been accomplished that maybe the child could reside with his legal parents again down the road. There are a lot of years left of this little guy's childhood, and that seems, the general consensus is that's a lot of years to have a little bit of a question mark regarding permanency and stability for him and the caregivers to tolerate.
And if the agency is looking at adoption as a potential permanency goal for this little one, do you have any opinion as to whether the current caregivers would continue to support relationships with extended family members?
that discussion has taken place multiple months in a row with the previous caregiver or foster care worker and with me. And the caregivers state that they have a desire for Kyler to know his birth family, both his parents and some extended family members who are already a part of his life. And they do not wish to extinguish that. They don't want to pretend as if he doesn't have a family, to whom he was birthed. So they state that their desire is to help him maintain relationships dependent on the functioning level of the parents at the time and the safety level of the parents at the time. His paternal grandmother has a relationship with him. She helps supervise visits on a regular basis. And that relationship, the current caregivers are very adamant they would like to maintain for him. They feel that is a safe grandmother relationship to maintain for him.
Is there anything else from your knowledge of the case that you would like the court to be aware of?
So we are actively providing efforts towards reunification. We understand the importance of assisting families with that goal, and we'll continue to do so. However, it is also a point in time where looking at the amount of work left to be done, if it can be done, if the parents can reduce these barriers, the amount of time it would take, and then the amount of time it would take to monitor the maintenance of the reduction of those barriers is just too great of an amount of period of time for this child to wait through, in our opinion. The case service plan has been in place for many, many months. Supports have been in place. Assistance has been provided. The parents have known what needs to be done. Still has not been accomplished.
And I do have one follow-up question just regarding the current placement. I believe it is everyone's understanding that the current placement sort of is this grandfathered in regarding policy. So they would not necessarily need to be licensed to be eligible to provide adoption. Is that correct?
They would not need to be licensed to provide adoption. They would need to be licensed to provide a subsidized guardianship, which they would require. They would require financial assistance, I believe. So, yeah, those would be the two differences, yes.
And is there any interest of them becoming, do they have any interest, to the best of your knowledge, of becoming licensed?
They have said they would not hesitate to do so if necessary. They will absolutely follow through with it. If the court decides that guardianship is the best option for this child, they would follow through with the licensing process. And from what I know of them to date, they would do so efficiently and quickly.
Thank you. With that, Your Honor, I have no further questions of Ms. Conrad and would move to admit the court report with its attachments.
No objections.
No objections.
Thank you. They are received. Questions for this witness, Ms. Berger?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. McCrell?
The current placement, if there were to be an adoption, do they need additional funds or not?
They would qualify for adoption subsidy because of the child's age.
Well, that wasn't my question. My question was, do they need additional funds?
I do not have an answer for you on that. They have not submitted a full financial worksheet at this time.
My understanding is that the parents are bringing appropriate food, toys, and everything that's necessary for the child during parenting time, correct?
That is correct.
And the income figures my client has provided are sufficient income in your point of view, correct?
Sufficient. It is an income. Yes, I'm not questioning whether that's a valid income. That is correct.
Is that a sufficient income? That's what I'm asking.
Well, they have been unable to secure safe, adequate housing to date, partially because of their financial situation. So it is not sufficient to obtain safe, adequate housing for them and the child.
You would agree, though, that they're not, if they were to secure, I guess, child's how old now?
18 months.
So couldn't the child be sleeping in a bed, a crib in their current housing situation?
He could be sleeping in a crib, yes, but the current housing situation, there is no way to monitor the background of the individuals that the landlord of their housing unit allows to share the same living space as the parents and the child.
There are hundreds of parents in Illinois County in the same situation, and CPS doesn't investigate those, right?
Correct. But
Your Honor,
part
I'm
of-
going to object. I'm going to object to that question, Your Honor. It's argumentative, conclusory in its statement, and Ms. Conrad also does not work for CPS.
Any response?
I'll withdraw then. Well, why does their particular situation need to be monitored as far as, do you keep, let me ask, have you run and see if there's anybody with a sexual registry in the neighborhood? I know there are apps for that. Have you done that?
No.
Have you asked the landlord who is living in the apartment?
No.
So there could be suitable people in the apartment right now, but you just haven't asked, right?
Correct, because that could change within 24 hours. The landlord could have someone move out and bring in a new tenant that shares the living space with them and would not have any obligation to let me know who the person is or what their background clearance is.
You ask the landlord or my clients how often that does actually happen?
Well, yeah, I spoke with Ms. Gerber about the fact that sometimes there are people that live there, sometimes there are not. Right now, it's kind of a low number living with them, but she also talked about how there have been people that live with them that steal from them and that they didn't feel safe with and that have caused loss of items and money from them. And so there's not a controlled enough environment to ensure child safety.
And I've asked my client if he would like to have considered unsupervised visits if it's without the mother. Yeah, warmer weather coming up and parks and maybe going to McDonald's or things like that. I didn't hear you express an opinion about my client not having unsupervised. What are your thoughts?
Well, that is something that could be explored. There would need to be, when he left here in November, following the hearing, part of his case service plan still stated that he was to submit to PBTs prior to parenting time. He has not done that since he left here in November. So there's no way to prove that he is clean. There have been no concerns during parenting time, but there's no way to prove it.
But your concerns are not to the level that you asked for contempt of court against them for not submitting to PBTs, correct?
Correct. Instead, we have stated it appears as if compliance with the case service plan is a concern. After 12 months in care, we would like to change the goal to adoption.
And have you done random visits at the house?
I have not gone inside. I've stopped to bring them dial-a-ride tokens. I met with Emily one time in the driveway of the home, but I have not gone inside. No.
Well, you've met with my client unscheduled, correct?
Yes.
And he's not exhibited any signs that he had consumed alcohol, correct?
Correct.
And none of the visitations, are there any concerns that he's been consuming alcohol, correct?
Correct.
My client's expressing, relating to me that he had requested a gas card, since mother had used it up and he needed it to take PBTs and he never received one. Do you happen to recall that conversation?
Yes, we've had conversations about this because they were given $40 on a Visa gift card for PBTs only, which are $2 a piece. And so if we're talking about the family having sufficient income right now, $2 twice a week should be able to be taken care of. They were given a $40 Visa gift card to last for many, many PBTs. It was used incorrectly for something else, so they no longer had that. I did not have another card to give them so quickly after that was already used up. I did in fact give them a fuel card, and we talked about the fact that use this for fuel in your vehicle and then use your income for the PBTs. I didn't have another Visa card to give them. I did have a gas card to give them. So they received a gas card from me to supplement in that way. He still did not attend. He did recently and was, he did very recently attend and tried to do one last week, I believe. And he was no longer in the system because it had been so many days, so many consecutive days of no registry at the kiosk.
What does he need to do to then reactivate the PBT?
So I called and talked to the sheriff's department and I texted him this morning that he just needs to, they reset him in the system and he needs to go back, put his PIN in, re-register, and it should be good to go.
So you had a PBT this morning, right?
I do not know if he did yet today.
You said you tested him this morning. What do you mean?
No, I texted.
Oh, texted. I'm
Sorry, yes, I
Okay.
messaged him this morning to let him know
I understand.
it's been resolved. Yes.
Your concern isn't so much whether they have a driver's license, but whether they're able to get to scheduled events, correct?
Correct.
Have they been able to get, has my client been able to get to scheduled events?
Some of them, yes, not all of them.
Has he indicated that he was working at some of them?
Potentially, yeah. Potentially, but yes, so he was able to attend well child exam and dental exam. He attends parenting time. He did not attend early on appointments in December and January for the child and did not attend an urgent care visit that the child went to.
He gave an explanation.
Transportation, vehicle breakdown, I believe, for both of the, you can correct me if I'm wrong, in January early on was because of a breakdown of their vehicle. December may have been a work conflict, a job conflict. I don't know about the urgent care necessarily.
Is there a possibility that the last worker may have written down the wrong date and provided that to my client?
That could be a possibility. I believe the caregiver provides and the information to them as well, though. When she schedules something, I believe she texts the parents.
Lastly, if it comes down to it, what would your opinion about separate planning? If my client were to proceed on his own path without mother, who seemed to have had some relapses and other issues, would you be willing to considering him on an independent path for unification?
There would have to be some significant black and white plans in place that would happen pretty quickly because this child has already been in care for 12 months. Housing is still a concern. Stable finances is still a concern. And the kind of codependency that has been spoken about between the two would not disappear just because they may not be living together. So that would be a concern that would need to kind of be worked through, that he would be able to maintain the child's safety from mother if he was no longer with mother.
Nothing further.
Any questions?
No, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
Ms. Conrad, for Mr. Piper, the income that he sent you on those screenshots, did you happen to run any quick math on that?
Did add it up-ish in the report, yes. So these are all unverified numbers. I don't have verification from these individuals that they're shown on these screenshots that they are in fact paying them for a service. But what I added up approximately was that for November, there was approximately $1,000. December was approximately $1,300. In January, it was approximately $1,100. That is not every single, there were, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You finish your thought.
There were a few screenshots that I could not factor in that it did not show who it was to. It didn't even show that it was to Mr. Piper or Ms. Gerber. It didn't show what it was for. It was just a name and a dollar amount. So it was very hard to consider that income. But those are the approximate numbers. They do continue to ask for assistance through gas cards and through Visa cards and dial-a-ride tokens. So they're continuing to ask for assistance financially.
Have you just, have the parents or have they worked with budgeting and discussing how to manage finances that are coming through?
We have not spent time in this reporting period since I met them in December. We have not spent time on budgeting information. No, I know that that was something that they were supposed to be kind of turning in regularly from the previous workers' reports and notes were some kind of written down budgeting plans. There were there were larger issues that I was kind of focusing on in this report period.
Have you discussed with the parents their relationship and the concerns you may have about it?
I spoke with Ms. Gerber about it because we met privately regarding her positive drug screens. She did not want to discuss those in front of her husband. So we met privately about those, and we talked about the fact that she had not used the coping skills that the two of them had been taught in their counseling, which was to discuss these things with one another, use one another as a support. She also talked about the kind of that the relationship had not felt real healthy recently, and that there's been a lot of anger and resentment regarding the foster care case, and she didn't want him to be disappointed in her for using, and she also was afraid he'd be angry with her. So I did not speak with him about that, but I did hear that from Ms. Gerber.
And do you happen to know the goals that they're working on in the joint therapy sessions?
So I have not gotten a written report from their therapist regarding their marital counseling, but they did meet with their marital therapist very recently and did openly discuss Emily's use in December and January. And they are going to, so they as a group talked about that, and is now out in the open, and they are going to be working on how to, she said they're going to be working on how to eliminate secrets in the relationship and be able to be open with one another when there's a feeling of wanting to use, to potentially eliminate relapses.
Thank you. With that, I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Any other questions for this witness, Ms. Berger?
No, Your Honor. Thank you.
Mr. McFarland?
No, thank you.
Mr. Howard?
No, Your Honor.
Thank you for your testimony. May I return your seat. Any other witnesses today, Ms. Thomas?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Ms. Berger?
Ms. Gerber, do you want to testify today?
No, at the moment, no.
Okay. No witnesses, Your Honor.
My client does not wish to testify either.
Mr. Howard, anyone you think we should hear from?
No, Your Honor.
Very well. Comments in closing, beginning with Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. At the last hearing on November 12th, we essentially had a very similar hearing. There hasn't been a lot that has changed since then. And this court noted it had been at that point 9-10 months of case service planning done with this family, services being offered to them. And those main barriers, as Ms. Conrad stated today, were also present then. And we were warned that we would really need to look at the permanency options for this kiddo. I think that Ms. Conrad has done a wonderful job in understanding the barriers that are present for this family, the barriers for unification, and the areas of need for this family. And I am glad that Ms. Gerber, she often presents herself to us with self-awareness and is often able to identify her areas of need as well. And I'm glad that she's able to do that with Ms. Conrad, and I'm hopeful for them. But at this point in time, given the outstanding barriers, and even it's not just about income, it's not just about housing, it's not just about transportation, it's about all of these issues that are current and present, and really were the reason that the child came into care was for this lack of care for the kiddo and neglect. And mom substance abuse is a long-standing concern, as this court is aware. This case number is a 2020 case number. And this is, I want to say, the third or fourth child that we've had this court need to take jurisdiction over. And so at this time, Your Honor, given all of the barriers, given the limited progress, given the time that it would be required to demonstrate stability and safety for this kiddo, I think that at this time it is appropriate to formally shift the goal to adoption. This court is always interested in maintaining that familial bond and relationship. And it seems that with the current caregivers, Adoption really provides both them and the child, and that's who the focus is on, the child, though, this permanency that's not as malleable. It is firm, and the child would also continue to be supported in maintaining relationships with the child's biological family, which I think is a really nice thing as well, but without the concerns of, am I going to have to move one day? How long can my parents stay on track before that's at risk? So I really think that those things are present in this case. And so we are asking the court to consider adoption as the primary goal for this kiddo. Thank you.
Comments, Ms. Berger?
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we are requesting a little bit more time before there is a goal change in this case. As we all know, sobriety is not linear, and my client has been honest with the court, with the caseworkers, and most of the time with herself during the pendency of this case, and what she struggles with and what she needs to work on. So at this time, we are asking for more time for her to accomplish those goals, to be able to work on things like substance use, resolving some of her pending criminal matters, and working towards a goal of independent housing, or rather housing separate from other families. So at this time, Judge, we would just ask for another reporting period without that goal change, to give my client a little bit more time to show the court that she is able to do these things that are being requested of her in her case service plan. Thank you.
Mr. Garland?
Yeah, we're asking that the court consider a concurrent goal of reunification, and although we don't wish to have adoption as a goal, but the court intends to consider that the court would also consider concurrent goal. I know right now we're looking at them as a couple, but when we separate them as a couple, Mom really hasn't been honest. She didn't tell her husband that she's back using, so they could address that as a couple. He's the one with the income. There's not been concerns with him not being sober at his visits. He is, once again, on the path for PBT, as testified. He may need to make a difficult decision whether he can do this as a team, as a married couple, or whether he's going to pursue this individually. But he's asking the court also to consider him having visits separately and unsupervised, because there haven't been those concerns with him, Your Honor. So we're asking for one more reporting period. We're not yet at 14 months. Thank you.
Thank you. The court sorry, Mr. Howard. I almost skipped.
Yeah, so I would be fully supportive with the agency and requesting the goal change to adoption. I think, this case has been open for 12 months and there's been minimal progress made in those key areas that Ms. Conrad had identified. I think the child is at a point in his life where he just needs stability and permanency and needs to know, what his future is really going to look like. So fully support the goal change to adoption.
Thank you. The court finds all interested parties were given notice for purposes of today's hearing, which was a review hearing as well as a permanency planning hearing. At the last hearing, which was also a review hearing and a permanency planning hearing, the parents were signaled that significant progress needed to be made in very pivotal areas in order to continue to have the opportunity to work towards reunification. Goal was changed to a goal of reunification, adoption, and juvenile guardianship, and was requested to be explored in the next review. Ms. Conrad has certainly done that and testified very well about the investigation into the alternative of juvenile guardianship for this family, considering the bond between the child and the parents, as well as the bond between the child and his biological family. However, I do see that progress has not been made in very significant areas. Both parents are still in the same living arrangement, which is not appropriate for the child. Neither has been able to show regular income to the extent that they'd be able to change that circumstance. Neither has been able to secure a driver's license to safely transport themselves or other people and continue to utilize snow removal and scrap collection as the primary method of income to support themselves, even though neither really has a driver's license. And I appreciate that they may involve other people, but certainly I know there's been testimony in prior hearings as well of them driving essentially without having accomplished getting a hold of a driver's license, which obviously poses a risk as it relates to themselves and the child. So it's some of those basic things that are an issue. There is also the dynamics of their relationship that Ms. Conrad discussed today. There's a referral made for joint counseling in November, and that didn't happen until just a couple of weeks before today's hearing. Individual counseling has been something that Mr. Piper was very resistant to. He's recently done that, but only a couple of sessions. Ms. Gerber has struggled mightily in the last report period, having a couple of relapses and not utilizing individual counseling or some of the resources that she needs. And it's a pivotal time in the case. The child has been removed from their care since 2/6 of 2024, and this is a 2020 case. Mr. Wesley was a support for Ms. Gerber in the prior case that we had, in the same dynamics in their relationship presented in that case as they do here. All of the areas identified as a risk of harm in reuniting this couple with their son continue to persist. And there does not appear to be any manageable period of time to allow them to continue on this particular path. I looked at not just visitation, but also attendance at appointments for the child. And some of those appointments the parents were able to make, and others they were not. But when I look at a juvenile guardianship rather than adoption, number one, obviously it has to do with whether or not the child is with family, which this is a fictive can arrangement. At the request initially of Ms. Emily Gerber, but that is not technically family. This person is making efforts to provide a relationship between this child and his biological family, which is great. And it's frankly something that we would expect them to do and act in the best interest of this child as if they were the adopted parents, to decide whether or not to allow this child to see biological family would be something that they would be allowed to do. The parents are visiting with the child and providing during the visits, it sounds like, which is good. But essentially, if I were to be looking at a juvenile guardianship, it would just to be able to continue to allow those visits, which continue to need to be supervised. I do not agree that the parents should be visiting separately or unsupervised, given the lack of progress, number one, in some of the areas like relationship dynamics, but there's also the transportation issue. I don't want them risking getting arrested in order to try to meet somewhere else where there's no supervision for the child. For example, Ms. Gerber is obviously struggling with relapse. Mr. Piper is not engaged in his services to make sure that the dynamics associated with his interactions with this child are free of those power and control dynamics that have been observed and reported on by Ms. Conrad, as well as the worker that was in charge of the case at the last outset. And I am changing the goal to adoption for all of the reasons that were expressed today by our caseworker. We have the support of the LGAL in that. I cannot, unfortunately, rule out adoption on behalf of legal guardianship for the reasons that I've discussed. This child is young, he needs permanency. Parents have had, frankly, more than twice the amount of time that was offered to them at the outset of this case, given that the issues were well understood and identified. So adoption is the safest and most permanent and secure goal for this child. He needs to remain in the placement where he's doing well. And the department is ordered to file that petition for termination within the next 28 days. We'll have our next review hearing date on April 28th at 10:30. That's also a Monday. If the petition is timely filed and served, I will consolidate that review with the request for termination of parental rights, as well as another permanency planning hearing, in order to ensure that those permanency planning hearings continue to happen. The agency has met their obligations to provide reunification services in this case. And that it does include the visitation. I am directing that the visitation may be reduced to weekly or biweekly at the discretion of the foster care caseworker. Understanding that once that petition for termination of parental rights is filed, that may potentially alter that parenting time again. But for now, I'll leave it within the discretion of Ms. Conrad to decide how often that will be occurring. Understanding that it doesn't really seem to be posing a risk of harm to the child at this point, other than maybe with regard to some confusion about who will be providing his stability in the future. But until I hear something that increases that risk or provides a risk of harm as it relates to the parent's behavior during parenting time or any risk of flight, which are the other real reasons that we would suspend it, I'm going to leave it in place. April 28th at 10:30 in the morning, again, is when our next hearing will be, potentially also consolidated with that termination for parental rights. The order will contain all of the rest of the findings and continue the case moving forward. Unless there's any questions, that's all for today.
Question, you mean that may be the termination trial date? Is that what I'm understanding, Your Honor?
Yes,
Thank you.
if the petition is timely filed.
And
I'll have the
exchanging
order-
exhibits, do we need a pretrial, or the court will say exchange witnesses and exhibits by 7 days prior or something like that?
If there's going to be unexpected witnesses or exhibits, please have those filed no less than 14 days ahead of time.
Fair enough.
But it's consolidated with the regular review, so I wouldn't expect there to be extraordinary exhibits in a case where this is supplemental petition.
Thank you.
All right, I'll have the order for you in a few minutes. Thank you. That's all for today.